working on a project, a decently big project, just for myself, at the moment. Like, it might turn into a public project, but for now it's just for me, and what it is a list of every single juggling trick that I know, especially the drops, that's the main one that I know, I do it the most often, and hopefully also links to, like, the original source of where I learned that trick, and also possibly, eventually, videos of me, myself, performing the trick, but I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that yet. Maybe, like, unlisted YouTube videos, or GIFs, or GIFs, or YIFs, or maybe just on my website, but either way, there's a lot of options. I just haven't decided what's best yet. What prompted this project is actually right over here, and it is the fact that I have a cue card for every single 3-ball juggling trick that I know. And I've turned it into an act as of recently, and it's a really fun one. You get kids to reach in and pull out the trick, and then I try to perform that trick for them, and it's an absolute blast. And I had so much fun with it that I actually also started doing it on my TikTok live streams. So if someone tips me, it decides what trick I have to perform for them. And now I'm doing it for every single other prop. I have it for 3 clubs, for 3 rings, and 3 boxes, and hopefully I'll have it for every amount of props soon, but for now, this is all we got. I definitely have a long ways to go. But here's the thing. I'm a self-taught juggler. I did not go to circus school. I actually dropped out of all of the post-secondary establishments I attended to, of course, run away and join the circus. Kind of corny, I know, but it's true. But that means that I didn't have anyone teaching me all of these tricks. I either learned them by just playing around and throwing things and trying to catch them, or of course by watching tutorials on YouTube. Or my personal favorite was always to try to replicate tricks that I saw without the tutorial. It was usually harder, but it was way more fun. So when I actually started the cigar box list, I realized that I didn't know any of the names to any of the cigar box tricks. Well, other than takeouts. That one was pretty easy though, because you take out the middle box. But this? I didn't even know what to call that. Keyword, didn't. I do now. It is in fact known as the middle box spin, shuffle, no, that's backwards. Middle box spin, shower throw, shuffle stack. And I dare say that is a mouthful. And I would have never come up with that on my own. And after trying to do some research, I realized that there wasn't a lot that was actually accessible. So I figured this was gonna be a process. Although I did find this one playlist on YouTube from what I believe was a circus school in back in 2016, and it was super helpful to get started, so I'd highly recommend checking it out. Okay. But basically, juggling names have always been wild. Like, for example, there's Mill's Mess, there's Rubinstein's Revenge, there's Cascade, which is also regular juggling, or even 5-3-1. So, they all have varying degrees of, obviousness. For example, if you tell someone the name Rubinstein's Revenge, the chance that they're gonna come up with this is a 0. But something like Under the Leg, they'll probably figure that one out on their own. I'm good at this one. Can even do it on both sides. Whoopa, whoopa, ka-chow, yippa, ta-da! Now you may be asking yourself, Evan, you're a professional juggler. How did you learn all of these tricks and never once ask yourself what the names to them were? And the answer is, I have never once looked up a cigar box tutorial until I started this project to try to figure out what the names were. So far I'll just see a trick in an act or an Instagram video, or just have been fiddling around and something just kind of works. Like that. But in all of those situations, there's no names or terminologies attached to the tricks at all. For example, I just called this one the second hardest trick there is. Yeah! But of course, this isn't actually the second hardest trick there is. I just call it that because it's the second trick away from my grand finale. And that kind of makes sense, right? But it sure could be the second hardest trick considering how often I drop when trying to perform it. But up until this point, I've only ever called it the second hardest trick, or this one, or that one. That's called a drop though, I know that one. But what is it actually called? From my research, I have deduced that it is actually a mixture of a couple of tricks. It is the basic vertical 3-box stacked start. Minus the start. Which then of course ends with 2 2-box end balances. So it's the 3-box vertical stacked start into 2 2-box balances, just like that. But here's the thing. I might be wrong. I have no idea. I have looked for hours on the internet and I have found nothing. Basically, I'm pretty sure people just gave up at a certain point. They went, takeouts? Great. Lift outs? Even better. This thing? I don't know. Let's go throw more balls at each other and do passing, because cigar boxes, who needs terminology? So it was at this point that I realized it probably would have been better if I had learned the basic cigar box tricks by following tutorials done by people who were more educated than me, because at that point, I would have actually learned the names for the tricks and I wouldn't have this problem right now. So, if you're learning cigar boxes or really any other kind of juggling, I implore you to please follow tutorials, or at least, at the very least, write down the names to your tricks, because I don't remember half of them. I have lost so many tricks over the years, because my memory is terrible. Like, really terrible. My memory is so bad, it took me a whole bunch of attempts even to get that last take correct. And this take too. So, did you know that I mess up so much, I have started making a monthly blooper reel and posting it on my Patreon page. So if you want to see that, go check out the Patreon page, and of course this video here is supported by my patrons. So if you want to support this video, go check out the Patreon page. You get monthly blooper reels, videos of my live performance acts and things, and TikToks that were too raunchy for TikTok and got taken off of TikTok. So go check it out at patreon.com/EvanTheJuggler and help support this show. Thank you, patrons, for being so awesome. Look, there's one right now. Oh, he's gone. Darn. Anyway, on to the rest of the show. If I can remember it. I can, I wrote it down, don't worry. This is one thing that I do write down. I don't write down my juggling tricks, but I write down what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Now let's talk about the first place I actually started getting confused with these newfangled cigar box trick names. And it's, of course, with the end. Specifically, the end turn, the end spin, and the end round. 3 very similarly named tricks, but they're very, very different, because as you can see, we have the end turn, we have the end spin, and we have the end round. And we have the end of the video. Just kidding, I still have a lot more talking to do, don't you worry. Also, there's the end balance. And the deluxe version. Whoa! But what is this called, The double-decker end balance? The double end balance? The end balance on end balance squared? No? No. It's just called the balance. Plus on top of that, if this is just the balance, then what is this? Is there a difference in terminology between actually balancing them and just holding them? Because I'm still balancing too. It's just a lot easier, because this actually has a potential to fall down. So, you know, I don't know what's going on. And that's the end of me talking about the ends. But another fun and confusing naming moment was, of course, with the spins. Now, you already know about the end spin, which is pretty fun, but there's also the middle spins that I have seen tutorials on now that I've looked them up. And of course, there's 2 different options. There's the vertical middle spin, and there's the horizontal middle spin, which you can do both ways. But it's harder that way. I caught it though. But there's one that nobody talks about, and it's this one here. This is apparently not a spin. It looks like a spin, but well, not if I do that, but it's not a spin. Now, with all of my limited research, I have discovered that this is called a roller, specifically a 180-degree roller. And this is a 360-degree roller. Nope, that wasn't it. Yeah, those ones are harder, but this doesn't have a name. So I think it should be called the single box roller? Whatever it is now. I deem it so. This is now a single roller. You can even do it with this hand. Yay! But then, what is this? There's rollers, and there's takeouts. So, would it be called the single box roller takeouts, or takeouts with single box rollers? What is the naming convention here? Overall, there's a reason that my name is Evan the Juggler, and not Evan the Creative Name Haver, because naming things is not my forte. Ooh, but Evan the creative name haver is not quite done complaining quite yet. You remember the end round that I kept getting confused with the end turn and the end spin? Well, it turns out there's a lot more to confuse it with, because it turns out, after all of the end named tricks, it gets a lot worse. So, one more time, the end round, in case you forgot, because it did take me about a million different times of doing the end round before I had to stop Googling what it was called. So, the end round. The next trick I'm going to show you is called the hand across, and it is the over-the-top version of the end round. Not over-the-top as in, like, completely crazy, but over-the-top as in you literally pass it over top, like this. Now, there are actually a few hand across tricks you can do, like there's hand across, but under the leg, or even hand across, but behind the back. But there's a problem with this trick. Watch closely. It's not actually the opposite of an end round. If it was exactly the opposite, it would look like this, as opposed to this. Now, as far as I have looked into the depths, that is the first page of Google, I cannot find any information on what this trick is. As far as I can tell, it is the lift-out version of the end round. So, because of course there's lift-outs, there's take-outs, there's end rounds, that must mean there's end lift rounds. Ooh, lift round. See, that sounds good. From here on out, I will now call it the lift round, which I think is a pretty good name. But of course, if you happen to actually know the real name for this trick, or, well, any of the tricks that I'm going over, please let me know in the comments, because I do like learning. But I'm just saying, there is a reason that I dropped out of post-secondary establishments twice. Just like how I used this joke twice. But seriously, if you happen to know anything about like a good resource to find this information, please let me know. Like, even if it's just a book or something, that would be great. Because like magic, super easy to find resources on. I have 3 magic books that I learn from occasionally. But juggling, not the case. Well, cigar box juggling specifically, ball juggling and patterns like that is getting better and better every single day. There's lots of really cool resources out there. But for some reason, cigar boxes, no. So there's takeouts, lift-outs, end rounds, and allegedly lift rounds, as far as we know. But there's another trick that is called double end rounds, and it looks like this, where you take them both out at the same time. But you can also do this. Some people can. Is that still the same trick? I really don't know, because like, if I was doing that with balls, there's like a mathematical formula called sight swaps that tells you what a trick is. Like, mathematically, if you do this, this is the trick. But for the cigar box, you just kind of guesstimate the name based off what the vibe is. That's the quadruple spin-a-winnie and a drop. And half of the trick names don't even make sense. For example, the helicopter start. With no outside knowledge, I would assume it's something like this. Because with clubs, this is a helicopter throw. And this is a little helicopter throw. So tell me why the helicopter start is actually this, and not something like this. It's not very good at starting though. I'm still on the ground. Whew, and I'm dizzy. So anyway, what I'm trying to get at is that I still have a long ways to go with learning terminology for cigar boxes. It is a tough process, but I'm having fun with it, so eventually I might know what I'm talking about. And hey, if you have any cigar box juggling resources, please let me know in the comments. I would love to see them. This is always a learning process. That's why I like juggling, and that's why I have so many props that I drop so often. And also keep in mind that if I ever look like I know what I'm talking about, it's possible I made up the terminology on the spot. So if someone says something different, they're obviously wrong. Even if they've been juggling longer than me, and have done more research than me, and done more schooling than me. So what if they say that the helicopter start looks like this? I say it looks like this! And I say it more assertively. This is the helicopter start. Is this gaslighting? I think I've just reinvented gaslighting. So I'm gonna slowly be working on my list of tricks project, and you should too if you're a juggler. I would highly recommend it. So yeah, don't be like me and slowly forget all of your tricks over time. It is really annoying. But of course, if that project of all of my list of tricks and stuff does ever become public, the first people to know will of course be the Patreon page. So thank you again, patrons, for being awesome and supporting this video. And thank you, everybody else, for watching this video. You are also awesome. So, thanks for watching. Oh god!